For most of history, space wasn't limited by technology. It was limited by cost. Getting a single kilogram into orbit used to cost tens of thousands of dollars. Not because rockets were impossible, but because every launch threw away a vehicle worth hundreds of millions. NASA, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, they all built rockets like luxury aircraft. Incredibly reliable, incredibly expensive, and used once. This meant space launches were rare, bureaucratic, and slow. Only governments could afford them. Innovation stalled. SpaceX didn't ask how to build better rockets. They asked a more dangerous question. Why does space have to be this expensive at all? The breakthrough wasn't Falcon 9's engines. It wasn't guidance software. It was reusability. Airlines don't throw away planes after one flight. But for decades, rocketry did exactly that. SpaceX designed Falcon 9 so the most expensive part, the first stage, comes back. It lands itself, gets inspected, and flies again. This collapsed the cost curve. A launch that once cost over $150 million dropped to under $70 million, then lower. And the more SpaceX launched, the cheaper each launch became. This created something aerospace had never seen before. A flywheel. More launches, more data, higher reliability, lower insurance, lower prices, more customers, more launches. Space wasn't rare anymore. It became scalable. Reusability didn't just lower cost, it changed launch cadence. Traditional rocket programs launch a handful of times per year. Every launch is treated like a moon landing. SpaceX launches weekly, sometimes multiple times per week. That frequency compounds advantages most competitors never experience. Engineers see real-world data constantly. Hardware failures don't take years to analyze. Improvements don't wait for committees. Each launch tightens tolerances, improves reliability, and sharpens operations. This is why SpaceX boosters don't just fly twice. They fly 10, 15, even 20 times. At that point, rockets stop behaving like prototypes. They start behaving like infrastructure. Traditional aerospace companies outsource everything. Engines from one supplier, avionics from another, manufacturing spread across dozens of contractors. SpaceX did the opposite. They build almost everything in-house. Engines, avionics software structures, manufacturing tools. This does two things. First, it kills supplier margins. Second, it compresses iteration speed. If something fails, SpaceX doesn't wait 6 months for a contractor review. They fix it, test it, fly again. This Silicon Valley mindset, iterate fast, accept failure, is lethal in an industry built on paperwork and risk aversion. SpaceX doesn't just launch rockets faster, they learn faster. SpaceX also treats rockets like software. Flight computers are rewritten constantly. Guidance systems are simulated thousands of times before launch. Instead of locking designs for a decade, SpaceX ships updates continuously. This mindset comes straight from Silicon Valley, not aerospace. Legacy contractors optimize for compliance. SpaceX optimizes for feedback loops. That's why failures early on didn't slow them down. They sped them up. Every failed landing was logged, simulated, and improved. What looks reckless from the outside is disciplined iteration on the inside. And iteration beats perfection. Every time. Here's the part most people miss. SpaceX isn't just a launch company. Launches are the means, not the end. The real prize is Starlink. By launching thousands of satellites cheaply, SpaceX is building a global internet network, owned entirely by them. Starlink turns rockets into infrastructure, and infrastructure into recurring revenue. Instead of relying on governments and satellite contracts, SpaceX now launches its own payloads, uses its own rockets, and sells subscriptions globally. This flips aerospace economics upside down. Rockets stop being a cost center. They become a distribution channel. Few companies in history have vertically integrated from manufacturing all the way to global service delivery. Starlink gives SpaceX something no other launch company has: an internal customer. SpaceX doesn't need to wait for governments or satellite firms to justify launches. If launch prices drop, Starlink margins expand. If launch cadence increases, network coverage improves. Every optimization benefits both sides of the business. Rockets aren't just sold externally. They're consumed internally at cost. That means SpaceX can launch when it wants, test when it wants, and iterate without permission. This is the flywheel fully closed. Launch economics feed the network, and the network funds the next generation of rockets. Competitors face an impossible problem. To compete on price, they need reusability. To perfect reusability, they need flight volume. To get flight volume, they need low prices. SpaceX already solved the loop. They launch more than everyone else combined. They reuse boosters dozens of times, and every launch makes the next one cheaper. This isn't just an aerospace company, it's a learning machine. And the longer it runs, the wider the gap becomes. Governments don't choose SpaceX because it's flashy. They choose it because it's predictable. Launch schedules slip less, costs are transparent, reliability improves with volume. When SpaceX wins government contracts, it isn't undercutting, it's out-executing. That's why even competitors' customers quietly migrate over time. Once cost and cadence stabilize, switching becomes inevitable. SpaceX didn't disrupt space by ignoring governments. It won by becoming the most dependable option available. SpaceX didn't win by inventing new physics. They won by attacking unit economics. They lowered cost, increased frequency, owned the stack, and built a flywheel competitors can't enter late. That lesson applies far beyond space, because in any industry where cost is the bottleneck, the company that breaks the cost curve ends up owning the future. And this is why SpaceX's advantage compounds over time. Every cost reduction doesn't just save money, it unlocks new markets that were previously impossible. More launches create more data lowers risk. Lower risk attracts more demand. Once that loop starts, competitors aren't racing rockets, they're racing economics. This is Biz Decoded. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.